If you were to go out my neighborhood, take a right and go down maybe 3 miles, there is a really nice vineyard. Maybe it's 5 miles, but it doesn't really matter. Really nice vineyard, beautiful grapevines, a beautiful building in the back, a little area where they have a concert place for outside. And they also have this little pad that they do a lot of weddings, and I've done at least one wedding there. I can't remember if I've done another one, but you get the idea. Just a nice venue, I remember years ago where they were building this vineyard, and we knew it was going to be a vineyard because they already had the sign out, and we thought, I wonder what that's going to look like. And a vineyard in Indiana, especially in the McCordsville, Fishers area, that just seems a little strange to me. So we just kind of waited for it to happen. So they started with the building, then they started cultivating the land. These big, heavy machines were coming in and just tilling up the land, and I don't know what other kinds of horticultural processes that they were undertaking or what all that causes. But I know one thing. It took years for the fruit to actually even start budding. You started to see these little seedlings, and you started to see the vines start to grow up on the fences that they created for this purpose. And even to this day, there's not a whole lot of fruit on there yet. So it's taken years to get to even this point. I've been thinking a lot lately about the concept of waiting and the concept of bearing fruit. And let me go ahead and read John chapter 15, verse 5. This is Jesus talking to his disciples, and he says this, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. So I want you to imagine that you're walking up to this vineyard, and you meet yourself, you meet a little grape, and he's a nice little grape, although he's a little impatient. So he says, I'm going to pull myself off this vine so I can really do what I want to do because I feel so tethered. And he says, but I'll go ahead and here lay next to the vine in case I need something from the vine. Well, there's 2 absurdities in this story. Number 1 is that grapes don't talk, and we know that. The number 2 thing is that grape will never develop and never do what it's supposed to do, never get the nutrients or the water that it needs if it just stays next to the vine instead of connected to it. I think, we tend to, as humans, want to take control of every aspect of our lives. Hey, we're Christians, we love Jesus, we read the Bible, so probably our judgment is the best around, right? We buy homes in certain neighborhoods, we send our kids to certain schools, or maybe whatever kinds of play dates they have or whatever, and it's good to protect, don't get me wrong. And we try to get a certain job with certain finances, and we try to associate ourselves with a certain group, and we try to control every aspect of our lives because we feel like we have the best ideas, perhaps. And in a lot of cases, the decisions we make, if we're Christians, are God-led, right? We've prayed about it. We've felt like that God has said, hey, I want you to go in this direction, because God does that. But there are other times in which we make other decisions because we just want to be the ones in control. We want to know the outcomes. We want to know everything's going to be okay. We want to control the outcomes. We feel like that we are the ones that because of our safety, because of our comfort, because of whatever the case may be, we should be in charge. God tells us that it's okay to have desires, and it's okay to make decisions. Obviously, we couldn't go through life without making decisions. But there are times that the unknown comes and uncertainty happens. And we have to be willing as Christians to put those things, and even all the things that are even certain, in God's hands. We can't always rely on our immediate impulse, the way that we handle something. We can't always rely on the decisions that we make. We can't always rely on things that seem like they're going to lead us to happiness, quote unquote. But if we're centering ourselves in God and being connected to the vine, we know that the decisions we make out of prayer and the directions that we go out of His guidance are always going to be the right way. When it comes to passions, I remember Erwin McManus, he wrote a book called Chasing Daylight, and actually I just happened to see it on my bookshelf right as I was saying that. He has this phrase that he says in this book, and he says, if you trust in God, you can trust your passions. So that's really interesting to look at it that way. In his context, he was talking about putting your faith in God and going according to His leading and adopting His passions as your passions, all those kind of things. But I wonder how many times we reflect on our own lives in the context of being connected to the vine. Are we doing what God wants us to do? Are we connecting with Him on a regular basis? Are we putting our burdens and our decisions at His feet? Or not just trying to make ourselves happy, quote unquote? It's an interesting thought process, isn't it? Well, I hope you have a good rest of the week. And by the way, Merry Christmas to you. Have a wonderful time doing whatever you do during this time of year. Bye-bye now.